This is iFanboy Pick of the Week, episode 724, brought to you by iFanboy listeners just like you. Hello, welcome to iFanboy Pick of the Week, episode 724. I am Josh Flanagan. I'm here with my co-host, Conor Kilpatrick.
Hello.
Joining us today, just because you like him, Dr. Ryan Haupt.
Happy to be here. Wash your hands.
Can we just say that that's an asterisk after all of the things that you say? I mean, I understand if you need to get out. We all do, and they should all listen, but let's just have it be a thing that's understood. But also,
I was just gonna throw it out at the top and then save the rest till the end. That was my plan.
All right, but also wash your hands. We're iFanboy, and every week, possibly up to and including this week, we read a stack of comics. One of us picks the one that they like best, and we call that the pick of the week. What does the future hold? Well, we'll get to that at the end, but spoiler, we don't know. We are going to talk about the book that we call the pick of the week. We're going to talk about other books from the week. We're going to talk about the Patron Pick, some listener mail if we have time, all that stuff. The idea here is that we should have fun, and you should have fun by extension of our having fun. And if I may, I've had a lot of people, and I'm sure you guys have seen it too, say, thanks, and we appreciate you doing the thing, and they're really glad to hear the show right now and be able to sort of, that means the fucking world to me. And I'm sure to you guys too. And thank you to everybody who said that. And if we can help at all, I think that makes us feel so much better.
If we can entertain you for an hour,
that's
great.
Yep, totally.
Because this entertains us for an hour.
If you can get a laugh, I mean, what's better? There's nothing better than a laugh. So that's a lot of pressure on me right now that I've said that. This is your spoiler warning. If you're still worried about spoilers at this point.
Well, it's actually, that's a good point. So we're going to try to do the show as normal. We're not going to try to be dicks about spoilers. However, we are aware that a good majority of the stores in the U.S. are closed, and therefore people couldn't get their books. We were aware that every store in the U.K. didn't get their books, I think except for one. So we know that our U.K. audience, which is our second biggest audience, didn't get their comics. We're aware that a good portion of people listening just didn't get comics this week and are listening for whatever reason. So we're going to try not to be dicks about it, but at the same time, we have to be able to do the show. So it could be that you skip the comics section this week and just listen to the rest of the show, and then later on when you finally read your books, you go back. But we're going to try to not be assholes, but also try to do the show, which means stuff's going to get spoiled, probably.
I do love that the British said that they're going to keep the books for safekeeping, which I thought was very, very British.
Yeah.
They'll be here when you need them, but not now. You can't have them now. They're here for safekeeping. So, with that said, Connor, you had the pick of the week. Please carry on.
Is that your heater?
It is my water softener, which comes on at this time, apparently.
That's fine. I just want to make sure
I apologize.
Okay. So this week I whoa. I finally hit puberty this week. I finally hit puberty. It was great. This week I had a lot of books. I had 26 books.
You did it again.
And it was actually really nice to escape for a little while, even though it's hard to escape. It was nice to escape into the comics. And there was a lot of fun books this week. There was some books I didn't like, but overall I had a good time. And the pick of the week ended up being Batman Curse of the White Knight, Book 8 from DC's Black Label. This is the final issue of this particular miniseries, the second one from Sean Gordon Murphy, Matt Hollingsworth, and Anne Design in this White Knight world he's creating. I don't know if they're doing another miniseries. The story seems pretty finite at the end of this, but it seemed pretty finite at the end of the last one too, so who knows. Ryan, have you read this?
Yeah, I've been loving this.
Yeah, I've loved both of these miniseries. I love
the world he's created.
But I also love that he's made this sort of very meta-textual Batman universe in which everything is being referenced. The first miniseries was very much about Harley Quinn and the Joker, so there's a lot of stuff about the animated series and the different versions of Harley Quinn, the animated version versus the movie version. And here, this is a story about Batman facing off against Azrael. There's been a lot of movie references, the different cars he drives. There's been dialogue lifted directly from other Batman projects. But it's never showy or ham-handed. It's very natural within the story. So it's become this sort of layered take on all of Batman, which I really enjoy, on top of the terrific Sean Murphy art and the cars he draws, which are second to none. This tale of discovering that Bruce Wayne is not a Wayne, that his family stole the land and the name from Azrael's family, and the revenge that Azrael takes on Batman as a result. it all comes to head here, where Batman and Dick Grayson have to team up again to put their differences aside to take down Azrael in a non-murdery way. I just thought this was terrific. This was a great culmination. This is a miniseries that I'll probably buy for people come Christmas time who don't read comics normally or used to read comics. It's just a terrific, what they used to call Elseworlds book. I thought the ending was touching, too.
And again, the Elseworlds part is the part where you can accept the fact that they've changed all the history.
Right.
So I want to make just this, sometimes people say, but I thought you hate when they changed the legacy. This is its own corner.
Right.
Go nuts.
What does your water heater think about it?
Softener.
Water softener.
It's a softener. I have listen, in a couple of weeks when things have gone to shit, you'll be like, you know who's got it right? The well guy.
Old man Flanagan's got the softest water in the whole valley.
I do live at the bottom of a hill.
I have a cool fun fact.
Yeah.
Sean Gordon Murphy had the sword made. The cool Bruce Wayne sword rapier that he uses. He had one custom made. So he would have a reference for drawing the book, and it looks cool as hell.
Well, that's not surprising.
So anyway, I just thought that was, I want a sword.
This has been fun, and it's built on, it's the kind of thing where you can read this on its own, but it's also really built on the last miniseries if you read that as well. So there's a lot going on here, especially the awkward and strange sort of romance between Batman and Harley Quinn.
I think that's my least favorite aspect of this book. And it kind of plugs into the larger de-villainification of Harley Quinn that we've been living through.
I thought her turn against the Joker worked in the first miniseries. The falling in love with Batman bit is okay, fine, whatever. And it's only a very, very small part in this miniseries. In fact, in this issue, it's really only her drawing a heart on the window. It's not really a big major factor. No, that's an overall problem with DC, which we've talked about. They had a great character, and then they lost it.
Like the cure for cancer?
Yeah, it's my favorite reference.
That's exactly what it's like.
So
I can't do Sean Connery anymore. I can only do Daryl Hammond as Sean Connery. And, that's a thing. That was like I couldn't do George Bush. I could only do Dana Carvey as George Bush.
Oh, man. Can you tell we are not focused?
I am super focused on being unfocused.
Anyway, I agree with you, Ryan. The whole devilification of Harley Quinn is dumb, and the relationship in the last one was like, that's all right. But this is it's not really a big factor here because she wasn't really a big factor in the story. But at the end, she offers to break him free from prison because Bruce is turning himself in, and he turns it down, goes to prison, and his jailer that's going to make sure he stays in prison, doesn't break out, is Jason Todd, which was cool because he hasn't been in the story at all. It's only really been Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon. There's been really no reference to other Robins or anything else. And I'm a sucker for Bruce and Jason as adults facing off and their shadows being them as Batman and Robin. I am a sucker every time.
That was a great image. You know, it reminds me of the best part of Phantom Menace, which was the poster. And I'm not
You're
wrong.
not wrong. You're not even close to wrong. That and the design of the Naboo fighter. And Rick Only jokes.
The whole planet's one giant city. So that great image was great, and I like the design that he's using for Jason Todd here. He's got like a military uniform, but it looks sort of like not Mountie in the formal Mountie wear, but he looks like he's like out in the wilderness. Like he's got like a, he's coming in from somewhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to read his things. He's got a badge on too, which is strange. Special Forces, maybe? I don't know.
He reminded me of Dashel Badhorse.
Oh, yeah, because he's got a shaved head and everything. Anyway, this was a terrific ending to this particular story. I'd love to see more. I mean, I know that they were probably caught by surprise by how popular the first one was. That what tends to happen with these things. But if he has more in this world, although I thought it's a great ending, I don't need more. If he has more, I'm willing to take it because it's been terrific so far. This whole run has been great. The relationship between Dick and Bruce has been fun and complicated, and you have a nice emotional reconciliation here. Crying, talking about adopting, and Bruce telling Dick he's the better man, which just ties in emotionally to the Booksplode that Josh and I did this week. It's been really good.
He also took the '89 Batmobile, which has never been my favorite Batmobile, and made it pretty cool. It's got a boat mode. There's a simple button you just press. It says boat. It turns into a boat. It's great. That is good user interface.
He draws the best vehicles in comics.
It's insane.
And he made good use of them here. The Batmobile's been very important to the story.
His hyenas need work, but that's okay. I think you have to soften the features of a hyena if you don't want to worry about it being the protector of a baby. That's not an animal I would trust.
In a week where we had John Romita Jr. trying to draw Grodd again, it was fine.
I mean, I don't think this is the right time to talk about whatever's happening to John Romita Jr. You know what? I don't even want to go there. I think it's too disheartening.
So anyway, this was terrific. The Black Label books continue to be quite good, whatever they're calling them. Black Label.
I mean, Vertigo is in fine form.
Vertigo has been really strong. There was a bunch of them this week, and they were all.
We
very
joke
good.
that it's Vertigo, but like I feel like this book, Batman White Knight, is never a book that would have come out of Vertigo because they never would have done something that was this DC, right?
Originally, though, it would have. I mean, Animal Man. Well, Animal Man wasn't Vertigo. It got moved into Vertigo, I guess. So much in the same way. Early on, if I think back, the first arc, at least, of Sandman had all the DC Justice League people in it.
I guess Swamp Thing.
Hellblazer always did.
Okay,
I don't know at what point, because I know those books were sort of shuffled into Vertigo after the fact in some respects. I'm not exactly sure when Vertigo became Vertigo.
And also, when Vertigo was around, there was still Elseworlds, so they just would have done this in Elseworlds. It would have been...
Yes, that is what that would have been.
That's true.
So let's move on to the Old Guard, Force Multiplied number 4. And Josh and I talked the last couple times about how we loved the first miniseries. 4 out of 6 were the pick of the week. But this one we've had trouble connecting to for whatever reason. I actually really liked this issue a lot. But again, I have this nagging feeling in the back of my mind that I would like it more if I could have remembered more about the first miniseries, because it's been so long since it came out.
Well, this issue was it was largely separate in the parts that I'm trying to know how to say her name, even remember what it is. Andromache? Well, yeah.
Andy of Scythia.
Yeah. This was largely focused on her. I know who she is.
Yeah.
And then the other woman who's the villain who came back, who used to be her lover, and then she drowned a million times. I'm going to say like a Wolverine villain, so I'm trying not to make that mistake. Because it was focused on them and going into the past, I was mostly cool with it. Mm-hmm. The other characters did show up, and those are the guys I can't remember as much. I'm like, oh, that's the long nose guy. That's as much as I can remember. And I know that 2 of the dudes are a couple. And then there's the young one. But, right. I mean, that's the extent of what I remember. So those bits were still like, what's going on there? But I could sort of get it. But the main bits, were easy enough to follow. I did spend a lot of the time wondering where they were in the timeline. If Andy is the oldest one, where did she start? It almost was like she's a...
This is her origin here.
I know, but I'm trying to place those in history, and I had a hard time with that. I'm sure.
I've seen her referred to as Andromache of Scythia. So she must have been from Scythia, which was like in the Central Asia.
She was 3,000 years old?
6,700 years old. Because I just got caught up on this, so I read some of the other issues more recently. So yeah, she's 6,700 years old, give or take.
They said she was older than the rest of them combined.
Yeah.
So that puts her, 4,500 BC? 40? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the Central Asia, that would have been part of the Silk Road, Spice Road, between...
She's like a steppe.
The Barbarian Horde.
When was, the horse people of the steppe or something like that? When was Genghis Khan?
Later, I think.
Yes, you're right.
But there is an image of her with a Genghis Khan looking
right. Well, she would have been,
flashbacks.
If she comes from that Asian steppe area, then...
The Scythians are the people we have to thank for griffins. They're the ones who came up with griffin mythology.
Oh. I got a guy who works for me named Griffin. I'll let him know.
So I liked her origin. The villain origin for her girlfriend remains horrifying. I don't like reading about it. It's terrible. It makes me uncomfortable and sad, and it's just awful, drowning over and over and over for however many years.
I don't want to say it humanizes her. It makes her, everything about her justifiable. I'm like, you can be mad.
I understand.
Yep. And I think
however angry you are, it may not be enough. But I also liked the other portion, which of the dudes who were, I guess, looking up the people they've saved.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I guess it was a whole thing like, you don't just do good. These are the lives that you change and make better, kind of thing. Where the young boy they saved from a concentration camp wins a National Treasure Award, whatever that is. So I just don't know where this is going. We're already at issue 4, and I assume it's only 6. So it feels like we haven't really moved forward in a story.
The bar they're hanging out at while they have that conversation, real bar in San Francisco, one of my favorite bars, Smuggler's Cove.
Yes.
Oh,
it's an excellent rum bar, tiki bar.
I've been there. In fact, I believe a photo came up last week or in the last week on Facebook that said, "This is your first photo with Ryan." And
no, that was
there.
at Tongaroo, Josh.
Oh.
That wasn't at Smuggler's Cove.
I was at Smuggler's Cove with, ready for this name droppy shit? I was there with Jason Aaron, and we spent a lot of the time talking about his disrespect for Wedge Antilles. And then I said, I'm going to get a pickup truck. And he went, you're not going to get a pickup truck. And I said, I am. He goes, you are never going to. And I have that truck. And so I have that truck in spite of Jason Aaron.
I mean, it is walking distance from Isotope, so it's not a great shock that many a conversation about comic books have happened there.
And James was there, and it was fun. And I remember at like 1 a.m., I was like, I have to go back. I have to work tomorrow. And they were like, stay out with us. And like, I think Ron got back at like 5 a.m. that day.
So many rough mornings have been caused by James saying, stay out with us for one more.
Question, did you pour Scorpion Bowl on Jason Aaron's head after he disrespected Wedge Antilles?
Did not. I shared one with him, and then Ron made me drink a painkiller, and there was no pain.
So anyway, I like this issue a lot. I did. It kept me from loving it, the nagging feeling of I should be feeling more emotional attachment to this, and also I don't really see what the story of this miniseries is if we're already 4 in. I feel like we should be heading towards the climax in the next issue or so, and I don't know what's happening.
My take on that is that, yes, I don't know what's going on because the other thing came out so long ago, and I don't have the time or honestly really the inclination to go back. But I don't know that that's necessarily the creator's fault. This is the economy of how this works and time and blah, blah, blah and all that. So I'm not really going to hold that against them. It's just situational. 2, Rucka's a novelist, and I feel like he functions best. He's trying his best to fit into this like 6 issues in a story and then, move. But,
I also don't know that it's 6 issues.
Right.
We also used to never know when the book ends, and now I always assume a book is only 6 issues long. And I could be wrong, and no one's ever said this is only 6 issues long, but the last one was 6 issues long, and everything is 6 issues long, including other things I didn't know were 6 issues long, so I just assume everything is 6 issues long.
I guarantee you that he has a treatment, if not physically, then at least in concept in his head, that he would write 7 novels about.
Sure.
I guarantee it.
And then this is one of the books that got picked up for a Netflix show, right?
Yes.
Yes, and it's shot already, I believe.
That's good, because otherwise production would be shut down by this point.
Well, the first miniseries was terrific, so if that's what they're going off of, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Rucka.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume The Amazing Spider-Man 42 by Spencer and Otley and company hit you guys a lot harder than it hit me.
As dog owners?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I liked it, and I thought it was great, but I was reading it going, yeah, Josh probably really loves this.
No, this was gut-wrenching, I thought.
It is. I did like, though, that in a lot of instances, the story would be that, like, the hero would be unaware of it entirely, and they front-loaded it in order to make Peter less awful, I guess, by saying, I just get the sense he's not really a bad guy. He's just here. He's, And I thought it was a nice little touch. It also, I think, a thing you have to do with Peter Parker, in a way. And I also like that, like, yeah, it's a Spider-Man book. We're not really so much doing that now for this issue. It was just like, go do a thing. Ryan Otley gets to draw cute little blue alien kids with Reed Richards' hair or whatever helmet, and this, like, the idea that this little disgusting goblin thing is a cute, lovable dog on the other planet. Honestly, if you look at it, you don't read the words, I'm like, oh, it's invincible. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you could tell that the monster isn't a monster just by the faces it makes.
Yeah.
Is this originally a Kirby designed thing?
Yeah. I think Gog is pre-Fantastic Four. I can see the cover. I'm not sure where it comes from.
Because it definitely looks Kirby. He
did Monster Comics in the 50s and early 60s.
Created by Roy Thomas and Gil Kane.
Well,
1971. In The Amazing Spider-Man.
He did that Gog, though, looks like the one that Kirby had done. I'm almost positive. Like, I can.
No doubt.
I can see it in my head.
I'll tell you when it got me was the face Gog was making on page 17 of Digital Reader when he's running towards the kid in the battlefield. Because he's so happy to see his buddy again. And I just knew, I'm going to turn this page, and this kid's going to be turned into paste.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious. My wife found a dog wandering around our neighborhood when she was out walking our dog, and he was very sweet, very friendly. And so he like walked with her back to our yard, and we kind of have a fenced-in yard, so we left him in the fenced-in yard. And I called a Humane Society and said, hey, I found a dog. And I didn't, I wasn't going to take him to the pound right away, but I wanted to put in the report. And then I saw the look in my wife's eye, and I was like, oh, I got to find this dog owner, because otherwise we're getting another dog. And so, I managed to find the owner just by walking around the neighborhood long enough for somebody to come out who looked like they were looking for a dog. And
that's great.
The dog was really happy to see his buddy, and it made me feel really good.
Nice. That's great.
And you don't have 2 dogs right now.
I don't have 2 dogs right now. He was very sweet, but we don't need another dog right now.
No one needs any more anything right now.
So
I hope that the way that this was done in the print version had that explosion on a page turn.
I'm sure it must have.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
That's true. It's just it got me, and I'm not even a pet person, so I can only imagine.
You've now spent enough time around the pet person that you can sort of empathize with their feelings anyway.
Sure. And also, you're right. This whole section was very much Invincible. The alien faces were very much out of Invincible.
Worked for me.
Yeah, it was good. Legion of Superheroes, number 5, made me very angry.
Oh, yeah?
Very, very angry.
I would like you to continue.
Yeah, I did not get that feeling myself.
Might have screamed "fuck off" to the book when I got to the end of it. So,
wait. Ryan, do you have any idea what he's talking about?
I legitimately do not know.
Okay, neither do I. Because I have a different review of this book, and I will just before we don't even need to dwell on it. But my review of this book is I like it a lot, but I'm barely holding on by a thread because it's just too fucking much.
Too Legion-y.
Getting there.
The beginning of the book wasn't just Legion-y, and now it's very Legion-y.
Which I can't fault it for. Go on.
Jonathan Kent is finally going through his training.
I know what it is.
And we see flashbacks to how the Legion started. The president of the Interplanets is showing the Imperial Senate the imagery from the old days of superheroes. We see Morrison's Justice League, and we see Wolfman and Perez's Teen Titans. And she wants to create a team like that for them, and that's how the Teen Titans sort of come about. And we see all that.
I'm going to say a phrase to you, and you just tell me if I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
I believe the phrase is "one true Superman."
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So, great art from in the beginning by Ryan Sook, and then we skipped to Scott Godlewski, who's also very good. We knew Ryan Sook would never actually make it on this book full time. And we see the original 4 Legionnaires, the original 3 plus Brainiac coming together to join the team, and Brainiac is discussing how the inflection point for the entire multiverse and the history of everything happens in the past, in this age of heroes, and if that age is not maintained, then everything falls apart. And he says, so in order to do that, for some reason, they need to bring Jonathan Kent forward in time, the person who gave the idea for the United Planets. He needs to come into the future with them and keep everything safe. And they see a picture of him with Damian as young kids, and he says, we need to prepare him for his coming role as the one true Superman. And that's when I said, fuck off and fuck you.
I can't argue with that, and I love it. I love you for it. I mean, this won't live, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I
it's never
guess.
gonna happen. Like there was.
Well, no, the thing is, we know what they're doing, or they said they're going to be doing, supposedly, unless we all die, is replace all the classic heroes with their kids.
For a bit, and then it'll...
Maybe. Who knows anymore?
Maybe that's where they stop.
And so, if they're positioning Jonathan as... No, there's one true Superman, and that's Clark fucking Kent. They can have Jonathan Kent be a great Superman character and tell fun adventures, but the one true Superman, the one known throughout the galaxy in all these fucking books that all the other planets know and respect, the one who is the greatest hero of all time is Clark Kent. It's not Jonathan.
Well, maybe
Kent.
it's like Clark Kent is like Philip of Macedonia, and then John Kent is Alexander. Sorry, we were talking about the other book.
Fuck off.
All right.
Wait, you said that Brainiac was the 4th, but they technically invited Sergeant Block first, who refused to come sit down, and I thought that was very funny.
It was funny. I will say, I think we all understand your point. Don't disagree. We could harp on. Not harp on it. We could go further and expound on it if you would like to. Or do you think you've gotten your?
No, I'm just. It's fuck off and fuck you. That's my reaction, and it's not even against the creators or anything. It's just the concept. Like, no, you. That's what I'm worried about with this. What DC's trying to do is, no.
Okay, I'm going to talk about 2 things I liked a lot.
Oh, the book was fine, other than that page.
Yeah. 2 things I liked a lot were when they were talking about the past, the art they used was specifically from those books. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah.
There was the Howard Porter cover. There was the George Perez Teen Titans stuff. And even when you do that flashback to the shot of John and Damian, that's the art from that book, I believe.
Yeah, that's Jorge.
And that was really cool.
Yeah.
I also really dug the Brainiac in this one. I've never really understood what this Brainiac was, and I think that they explained it really well, and I really liked how they wrote all the stuff around it. It's like when you watch a sci-fi movie or something that does like time travel or relativity really well or something like that. I thought that this did that sort of all-knowing, omniscient being, but also being a not human, but like a person. I thought that was
but it was cool that He basically said, I'm so smart that I know we're going to be friends, so I'm just going to go ahead and start acting like your friend right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really, because usually the smart guy is written as like cool and disaffected or emotionless, like a Spock type. But this is like, no.
Yes.
Like we're going to be great friends because I can predict that because I'm so smart.
100%. I love that.
He's the best character on the Supergirl show. He's a terrific character. I would like to go back and say the Sergeant Block scene was great. Come sit.
Where are you from? Dryad. Want to join? Or yes, come sit. No.
Come sit at the table. No. He was brushing his teeth. And he leaves.
You gotta brush your teeth post battle. That's something a lot of people don't know about superheroes. Is after a battle, brush your teeth.
Well, those guys specifically is after a battle, the dry engines or whatever they eat 4 donuts every time, and so
it's their tribute.
That's their
but
power.
They also care. Hold on, I gotta write this down. They also like the prime attractor in their society is brilliant bright teeth. So
Dradians.
You can see where the conflict is.
So anyway, this was fine. It's a little bit too legiony, but I'm still holding on by my fingernails. But I just don't. The more seeds are being dropped about what DC is about to do, the less I'm happy. Not good. Not good.
All right.
Not good. Not good.
What are you gonna do? Let's move along to this point of the show where I let people know about patreon.com/iFanboy. We have let me change up a little bit.
Okay.
You may have, I assume we keep talking about it, the news being that comics right now is in a state of flux. We, as an industry, are going through a thing we never have. Diamond's not shipping new stuff. Stores, we're not letting anybody in, so they're doing curbside. Freelancers don't really know what their future is going to be. And it's a really weird time. And when I was looking at that, part of me went, ugh. And then part of, that's really sad for them. And then I thought, oh, wait, comics is my part-time job.
Yep.
And it's true. And I, not to put too fine a point on it, but this is part of our income. I mean, this feeds the family, in a way. This pays bills. And so when we talk about patreon.com/iFanboy, and then we talk about, we're part of the comics industry in that way. And therefore, the people who are patrons now, the people who are continuing, and also if you cannot continue right now for whatever reason, don't feel guilt for a second if you can't keep doing it. It's fine. But the people who are, I want to be extremely clear, you are helping us by, in our lives, and we do this show in return for that. And also we happen to enjoy doing it. So that's a thank you and just a perspective, I think, because we don't tend to refer to it that way. But that really is what's happening. And so that being said, if you are contributing or you can contribute, here's the deal. Patreon, you go there if you want to help support the show, the things that you're listening to, the stuff that we do. We really appreciate that. We do have stretch goals. We had met our previous stretch goal, but that's going to be a temporary thing. It's not going to continue that way. But if we do meet that again on an ongoing basis, we will reintroduce the Media Explode show as a regular thing, and we will continue putting as many as we can at a speed we're okay with of our old shows up on YouTube, our old video shows. We might do another Media Explode show.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do one just because everyone's stuck inside and we need something to do and listen to. So we may just do another bonus Media Explode. We really did like doing it. So
yeah, it was super fun. And then we do the hangouts for patrons once a month, and we do the Talk Explodes and the Book Explodes, and that all comes from that. We opened up the hangout last time to everybody, and that was super fun. Thank you everybody who came.
We also just added a Discord server channel chat thing for the patrons, which has been very active. Very active.
It's a lot like the old Revision 3 days if you were around then.
Yeah.
It's a lot like that, but more sort of immediate, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a live chat for if you're not aware of a Discord. It started as a video game thing.
Yeah.
Which is how I encountered it. So there's a lot of rewards for being a patron. We try to make it as worth your while as possible, not just to have the show and to help the show, but to give you things in return. And
it really it's kind of jump started the community that we had. And we're really proud of. That kind of all moved on to social media, and I feel like we're gathering it together again.
Right. Which
is great. It's really good to see. I can't keep up with it to save my life, but still. So that's what it's at, patreon.com/iFanboy. You've heard us talk about it. You know what that is. You could also, never has there been a better time to go to ifanboy.threadless.com and get yourself a GDAT shirt.
That's right.
With the recognizable silhouette of our own patron saint. But he's the GDAT. He's the goddamned American treasure. And he needs your support right now, spiritually. And we need your support right now getting a shirt. There's probably Threadless does too. There are 7 designs up there right now. We'll keep telling, this is the baby. We're going to have a new design soon, I promise.
I think the state of the world may have slowed the process of that down, but it's going to happen.
That's true.
Yeah.
Finally, if you do want to contribute, you don't want to deal with any of that rigmarole, any of that crap over there, you can just go to ifanboy.com/support. You will find a direct donation link via PayPal if that is a thing that you want to do. We really appreciate it if you do, and if you don't, we get that too. We're going to keep doing this show. It's in some way. And finally, you can go to ifanboy.com/Amazon. You will find links to buy all the books on Books Below. There's a general link. If you are either panic buying because you're at home and that's what makes you feel better, which, by the way, is what I used to do, and I haven't bought a shit for 2 weeks. That's not true. I bought a bidet. So,
Wait a minute.
Well,
You can't just shoot past that.
well, because the toilet paper thing.
Oh, I see.
Julie and I discussed it. We discussed a bidet, but we realized that neither of us had ever used one and didn't feel like the time to start.
Well, there's a double thing. One, I got to install it and put it in, so that's a project.
Right.
So I get a project. I got to drill a hole for the hot water line. I got to connect all this stuff up.
You want one of the hot water bidets?
Yeah, are you kidding me? I have well water.
But I hear it's very soft.
Yeah, it is. Well, it is now. Anyway,
I
can
can literally hear that it's very soft.
You know what? We're going to process this so that people at home won't actually hear it. So,
This is an extra special glimpse into Josh's psyche at the moment, which is
great.
Which has been great for everyone. Manic, panicked.
I'm all over the place.
All over the place.
Maybe I can make everybody laugh.
This is how everyone feels in their heads. Anyway, thanks if you support the show in the various means you do. You've heard them all before, and we do thank everyone. As Josh said, this is a part-time job for us. It's part-time income, and we do appreciate it. As income becomes precarious, we do thank you.
Yep.
Very much. Basketful of Heads. Joe Hill presents Hill House Comics, a.k.a. Vertigo, Black Label. There's like 4 names for what this is. Joe Hill, Leo Max. I really like the Dollhouse family, but this is my favorite one. I think just because it's the retro 80s vibe. Even though I do notice, and it was in this issue particularly, that Leo Max's faces can be really inconsistent.
Yeah.
But I don't really care.
No, I really, I see what you're saying. I really, I think he's a really fun artist.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
There's I don't want to say early 2000s Vertigo kind of.
It super has an early 2000s Vertigo vibe.
Yep. And I love that. This book's so fun.
Yeah.
I love this book. I loved at the point where the 3rd head went in. I was like, that's an actual basket full of heads. And they made us wait for it.
Again, I thought this could be the final issue because it was issue 6, but nope, we're still going.
The story is ridiculous and everybody is arch, and honestly, that last page when she falls in the water, that's a great page. That's great coloring.
It's a great page.
A great page. And it sort of rides the line between this, like that 80s, 70s horror. Like it's right on the edge of being sexy, but not too weird. Like it's just like she's jumping around in her shorts. I'm like, oh, this is like watching an 80s horror movie.
Yeah.
But they're trying to gross me out, but also turn me on a little.
You grew up with a weird violent sex thing, which would be great for everyone.
That's not.
I like that even though she's using this mystical Celtic axe, we have no explanation for why the heads she cuts off are still sentient, and I'm totally fine with that.
Yes, I think that's exactly correct.
I don't want an explanation. I don't want an issue where they explain how these people are still alive with heads cut off. I know there's some Celtic mystery with the axe, and that's all I need to know.
I will say, while everything else is stuck to that formula, this is the short book section, while everything else is stuck to that horror movies thing, she is not the damsel in distress.
No, she's badass.
She's super fucking badass, and in a way that is completely like believable. She's not freaking out. This sucks. She's going to save her boyfriend the way that the old ones would have had her go save her girlfriend. But yeah. It was good. It was really fun.
I like that she's displaying her competence in various ways, but still does some things that are dumb. So
sure.
Like when she's trying to climb the ladder to the boat, she forgets to tie her little dinghy to the boat and it floats away away. Yeah, there was a lot lot of nice little touches. I wasn't reading this.
I thought I would totally do that. I would totally do that. And I can see it and I can hear it floating slowly away, and you have nothing you can do.
No recourse.
None.
You could save it, but you'd lose your axe and your shotgun, and you'd alert the bad guys. So.
And I asked Julie what the name of the boat meant, and she took one look at it, and she's like, I don't know, it's Icelandic. So she recognized that it was Icelandic, but doesn't speak Icelandic, so it was no help to me whatsoever.
So Josh, you were gone the last time Ryan was on the show, and we talked about John Constantine, Hellblazer. That was the pick of the week, actually.
But I'm sure you've listened to the show.
Of course.
Josh, so you know what we said.
That's the ticket, yeah.
We talked about the first part of this arc, this is part 2 with John and his new millennial sidekick. I'm curious what you think of this arc. I'm curious what you think of overall the old Constantine being the villain of this book, which is an interesting choice, and it's very continuity specific. So I'm curious what you think overall of what's going on Constantine.
So I haven't listened to the other show because I literally just read 4 and 5 last night, basically, when I was reading these books, because that was the week that I hadn't caught up on for whatever reason. I did read it the whole time thinking, I wonder why this was pick of the week. Like, I couldn't figure out not that it was bad. I was just trying to figure out what the line of reasoning was. Is there a basic premise that you thought was your favorite part about it?
It was just very funny. Ryan and I thought it was very funny, and we loved the art.
Great. I agree with both of those things very much. It's an interesting book in that, like, that's John, and it's John out of place in the world, and he's so often not. That's his thing. He's always comfortable. He's always comfortable with where he is. He's not worried about things. And when he gets worried, like, that's a big deal. This issue sort of undercut that in the way that, like, he had suspected everything was bullshit, and it was. But also it did make him sort of examine everything a little more.
Well, I really love the scene where he's at the cafe or whatever with the guy, and he's like, who's Wally? That prick out there without the socks? And he's like, that's my boyfriend. And he goes, of course it is. And who's that Kojak-looking bird feeding the cats? Oh, that's my girlfriend. And he's like, but... And it's just sort of... 'cause he's just sort of too old for this, but also he understands and accepts it. He's bisexual himself, so it's fine. But it's more of they're all dating each other at the same time that's confusing him as opposed to the gender thing. But it was just all very... He's just off a little bit. This whole thing has put him off a little bit. Yeah,
but it's consistent. Like, it's consistent with it. If you were John Constantine who went... I like the whole bit where, he went away. There was nobody else, so that was this guy. And, like, he's a knob, but he's,
he's well-meaning.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, and he's not even completely incompetent. He's a guy who's doing the best he can.
He just has a man bun. So you can't respect him fully.
Honestly, it's a really good sort of, I guess, lesson in sort of the acceptance. Just because somebody, it's really easy for us. Sorry, Ryan, us Gen Xers.
You too. Yeah, don't put me in this.
I know. I'm aware. To just be like, ugh, these kids. But that's what everybody does, and I think that works with John. And John's a boomer, by the way.
Yeah. The image of old John with that crow skull mask, or whatever, and the hammer and the giant nails. I was like, oh fuck, like that was.
I don't love that part.
Right, so that's the part I'm really curious to see what we've known almost the whole time, but it's ramping up that old continuity John from issue 300 is the bad guy.
It's a valid story because you could see at any point along the run Constantine going fuck this and losing it and going crazy, and that's believable. I don't want to see it, but I buy it. Mm-hmm. The other thing that's happening is this echoes over in, I think the story's actually crossed over, but in the Books of Magic book, the Tim Hunter character is battling an older evil version of himself too.
Right, interesting.
So we're having this happen in 2 places in this part of the Vertigo Magic universe.
You think that's what's going to happen to us one of these days?
I mean, we're always doing it.
It's always going to be an older evil iFanboy that shows up.
They're in the mirror. We look in the mirror. There they are.
How angry I am at younger Josh just flouted his credit card around like an idiot.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, it's already there. They've already shown up. Yeah. Once in Future number 7.
Are either of you reading this?
I am, but not for much longer probably.
Okay. So this is Kieran Gillen and Dan Mora with colors by Tamara Bonvillain and letters by Ed Dukeshire. Do
you think she ever wanted to just add a D in there? Become Bond villain.
You got to know that's come up.
I think it's a joke she really does not want to hear anymore. So
this is the book where I think this is my favorite Kieran Gillen book in a while. It's
I always say that at the beginning of Kieran Gillen books.
That's the thing. Like, I loved the first 3 issues of this, and then
I love the first 3 issues of everything he's ever done, and then the 7th issue I stopped.
It gets too deep in the weird mythology that's clearly in his head, but it's not on the page. At least in a clear and understandable way. And by this point, I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on anymore.
I'm barely hanging on myself.
See?
But that's okay. That's okay. I love the premise of, well, and again, we always love the premise, right? Of taking the King Arthur mythos of the savior of Britain and realizing that if you took a person with the morality from the Bronze Age, they would be a bastard.
Oh, no, it's a great idea. And also the idea that all the nationalists in England are wrong because they're also invaders. In the last arc when they killed the Anglo-Saxons. Also in this issue, they go to the British Museum and he has a little scene with that Bronze Age mask, which I saw last year when I was at the British Museum. So I was like, oh, I saw that. I've been there.
Oh, that's a real thing. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
And I thought, the grandma helping out with some old school invisible silver line magic was cool. And then at the end, I know we said we weren't going to do spoilers, but I think it's important. They resurrect Beowulf, the OG English hero, literally the first thing written down in the English language, Beowulf.
I love the idea of it, and I love the art. I love, we're big Dan Mora fans. It's just, man, the first two issues are really fun and good, and then it's just gotten wonky.
Julie got me into this podcast called The History of English, and it necessarily helped me with the mythology, but the idea of just thinking about, like, reading the passages written in Old English in this, I don't understand what they are, but like I at least kind of have the idea of the cadence and how it sounds in my head from listening to this podcast. Good podcast for anybody who's interested in the history of English. So I don't know, there's just enough here that I'm still digging that I want to hang on for as long as I can before, Gillens me out the door.
So let's talk quickly about Batman Superman number 8, part 2 of this 2-part story featuring art by Nick Darrington from Batman Universe and featuring a story where General Zod uses a Lazarus pit to resurrect the denizens of Kandor, and featured a terrific cliffhanger from the last issue where all the Kandorians, the tiny angry Kandorians, emerge from the Lazarus pit. And so here you have them dealing with all that. I thought this was a fun 2-parter, especially after the horrible Batman Who Laughs opening, and the Nick Darrington art didn't hurt.
I actually missed the last issue, and so I started reading this because I had stopped with the.
Yeah, I get you.
Man, I tried. And the creative team were doing the best they could with that, but I just can't take that shit. So I got back in on this one, and I was like, oh, I missed the last part. Didn't matter though. Like I picked it up. I knew who the players were, and I was like, oh, Nick Darrington. So this is great. Williamson. Like this is what Batman Superman should be.
Yeah.
Full stop. Like this is what this book needs to be. It is great. It is fun. It's not necessarily the main story of everything. It's off to the side, but still part of it. Like I like the dynamics between these characters. The villains are both gray villains.
Yeah.
Like Zod is not the arch villain he used to be. Ra's al Ghul is never really fully evil, in sort of the Joker sense or whatever.
He has reasons for his mass murder, and maybe they make sense to you.
Well, he's an environmentalist. But I think it changes I feel like I've read a ton of them, but like the stuff that I've read sort of puts him more in an Illuminati kind of space than necessarily just like a thief.
There was a terrific sequence, and I put the first part of it up on our Instagram page, in which Ra's is doing this big speech about taking out Superman, and then Batman hits him in the back of the head with a batarang. This is thunk, and it sticks in his helmet. First of all, that's a great 2-panel storytelling bit. But then a page later, he's just in the background, and he pulls it out of his head, and there's a little pock sound effect. It was just a great bit of storytelling. Terrific. Nick Darrington is something else.
Yes.
Nick Darrington also has his patron power is he can draw a panel sequence where something happens in the first and second panels that I missed that reveals itself in the third panel, and when I look back, it's all there in a way that's really cool. Like it's super dynamic storytelling, and everything comes together and makes sense. And I never have any issues with what's happening, and the action is just so well choreographed. Really huge fan.
The only thing, this is nothing to do with the book, is I think every time I see Kandor, it's different. I thought they were all dead. I thought it was all destroyed. Here, half of them are dead.
I agree, and I just accept that as
it's fine. And do they have special air? Because at one point, Ra's breaks the glass and like, oh God, what have you done? We've got to save them. And the air, like their air is coming out. I don't understand what, but whatever. It doesn't matter.
Well, it's because, he broke it with the kryptonite sword. I don't know.
It doesn't really matter. And it's fun. Now Superman has all the little tiny people in little tiny resuscitation tubes. Because of course he has those in the Fortress of Solitude. This is like super sci-fi and super Silver Age-y and terrific. And also, Jakul, the planet that Zod lives on, is very Star Wars.
Yes.
Jakul.
Yeah. What's the one that Rey comes from?
Jakku.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Jakul.
Everybody.
There's a lot of nerds like, why do you not know that? And like, there's a lot of stuff in here, dude.
In here, you mean your own brain, right?
Yeah, we heard it during the ad read.
Clattering around.
Connor, you didn't pull it up either. Don't act like I'm the only one.
So the patrons over at patreon.com/iFanboy every week can vote to add a book to the rundown. It's called the Patron Pick. And this week they decided, hey, we may not have this chance ever again. So they voted in My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, number 88 from IDW. Ted Anderson, Tony Flex, Heather Breckel, and Neil Utke. That's not right, but I'm sorry.
Ryutaki.
I know some people who work on or used to work on the cartoon and the movies are very big in the brony community.
I hate that I live in a world where a thing called a brony community exists and is real.
They have fun and they have a good, solid, very helpful community. So I won't denigrate the bronies at all. However, this was really bad. Then again, also not meant in any way, shape, or form for me. And I recognize that as I was reading it. So I can remove myself and say, this is very much a kid's book. And not like it's not even like a YA book or an all ages book. It's very much a kid's book.
But I mean, before Josh jumps in, I don't think this was a good kid's book.
That could be.
I'll be curious to see what Josh says.
All I'm saying is I recognize it's not for me, so maybe there's something here that I wouldn't understand. But the art was fine. The art did its job. I recognize all the different.
Don't have kids should go on talking about whether it's good for kids or not.
I'm not. I didn't say it was good for kids. That was Ryan's thing. I just said the art was good. I recognized all the different ponies, even though I don't know them. They're they all have person. Isn't the one with the rainbow hair the main one? Anyway, the art was fine. I did not enjoy reading it for one moment.
I did not enjoy reading this. I was mad at the patrons the whole time. Still
Josh,
mad at them, frankly.
You have kids.
Yeah, so I remember a ways back.
Rainbow Dash. That's
the last time these people did this to us.
Was this the second time? Yeah, Strawberry Shortcake. That was it.
Strawberry Shortcake, at which I really savagely flogged that book.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let's get ready. Let's do this again. I thought it was pretty good. I like in terms of like something that I think my kids would be interested in reading and sort of going through it in the way that like I've never read one of these before. I knew exactly where we were.
Yeah.
I got it was pretty easy to tell the characters apart, but in a way that is clear. It's got its own little gaggy, I mean that in two ways. Language, any pony, these kinds of things. Like I don't get it. But I thought that it didn't just feel like it was just for whatever the ideal of little girls is. It was just like kids could read this. I think my kids would dig it. I thought the art was pretty strong. It's like the kind of a cartoon. He's doing the thing. It's not 100% sort of on model for the, it's got enough of its own flavor to it. I don't know Tony Fleeces, but I'm familiar with his name and I've seen the art before. So like it's a real comic book artist. I'm literally going to dock points. There's a bad left-hand panel stacking incident near the end, right at the emotional climax of the race that I went to the wrong place and I was like, I can't believe this is happening. But overall, it was fine. Like it was. This
was a heist happening in the middle of a race. That seemed unnecessarily dangerous. This race.
I liked that.
They're racing like it's almost like Ben-Hur. All these ponies are pulling carts full of barrels, and the surface they're racing on, which is elevated, is not wide enough for more than one cart.
And they're going along like they don't have a care in the world. And I was like, yeah, that's what life should feel like.
And it could be that I had watched Rush, the terrific Chris Hemsworth, Daniel Bruhl, Ron Howard racing movie, and I was like, this seems dangerous. But I don't know how magical the pony world is. Maybe they can fly. The art was good. I didn't care about the story, but that's
no. But you shouldn't. Like you shouldn't have. Like I wasn't like into it.
I could tell it was competently told.
Yes,
I followed the action. I understood the characters. I understood not the mystery, but the heist aspect of it.
I thought the lesson was good.
Well, yeah. Each one has a lesson.
Right, I know, but like that's a valuable one. Don't worry so much about winning. That we have another book that we've read a billion times. It basically has the same message. It's about like a racer who wants to be number one, and then he helps some ducks cross the road, and like he learns like that's not the most important thing, and that's what this was. I like that message, as a thing. I like that it's more important to be friends or whatever. Like, that's what friendship is magic. That's what it's called.
It's interesting that the second to last dialogue balloon in the book we're going to talk about in the show is it's the end of an era. I don't know if that's prophetic or not.
Well, I like, the ponies experience growth as well.
Let's rate this book. My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, number 88.
How are you rating? Like what scale are you going to? The Conor appreciation scale, the what Ryan thinks, or be as objective as possible?
I'm being as objective as possible.
It's the per system, so we
pick a comic, read a comic, rate a comic, and I have to go 2.5. Like right down the middle. Okay. Because it was competently made, not for me, and I did not enjoy reading it.
Fair.
2.5 stars out of 5.
I feel like The patrons did this on purpose.
You're sweating. No, there was absolute vindictiveness involved.
Be honest. If you hated
And I want
be
to punish them for that.
They've already won. You can't punish them.
They don't want you to like it, so giving it a bad review is not a punishment. They're not waiting for validation.
Yeah, I just nothing about this worked for me. 1 star.
Fair enough. I would have given this a 3.25.
Yeah.
Given its intention, we're going to knock that down to 2.75 because of the egregiously placed left-hand panel stacking. I'm sorry. If you're doing this, you get, especially for kids.
Yeah.
You get trying to teach them how to read comics. Action goes from left to right. Action does not go from left to down, back to right. It doesn't. It doesn't go back up. Other than that, I thought.
Well, that is left to right. It's just down left and then to right.
Yeah, but then you go, wait.
But only you do that.
I feel like if we
Not
run out of
true.
I don't do it. I have no
Josh.
problem with reading left-handed panel stackings.
You always say that you're immune to it, and I do not believe you, and I think that you're just being obstinate against me.
Possibly,
Because
but you'll
your
never
eyes
know. The thing is, you'll
that
never
way.
know. You'll never know.
if
I
we get
know you. I don't need you to tell me.
Josh, if we get a break from the weekly grind, I want you to get some manga and find some right-hand panel stacking to complain about.
Yes. I could do that. I still have the last book of Pluto that I have owned for must be a decade now. I haven't read it.
God, I do want to read
Also,
Pluto.
people are acting like they got like a ton of extra free time now.
I don't know who those people are.
You don't even have kids. I mean, like, there's nothing. This is 2 full-time jobs with an 18-hour shift.
This is all hands on deck.
Ugh.
All right, so that's the Patron Pick, patreon.com/iFanboy. That's where you can vote out a book to rundown, should there ever be more comics. In the meantime, if you're a patron at the $5 or higher level, we give you your own superpower live on the show. Last week we said we were moving to 2 per show, but we have Ryan on, so we're going to do 3. We're each going to get 1. And Josh is going to start us off.
Mark Richardson has the power of perfect credit. All
It's not a power.
Yeah, anyone you can do that.
Decisions lead to a betterment of credit rating.
So no matter what he does, his credit goes up?
No, he's making the right choices. It's like
Does
every
he-
once in a while you'll get to something, you're like, should I do this? Will it be back? Because if you open a new account or you close one, that affects you in some way you don't fully understand. Perfect credit score, so it's all, he's always able to get the lowest possible rate on things.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, what if he's in a situation? This is the trolley problem. I'm just going to spell it out. He's in a situation where the decision to make his credit perfect is going to kill like 5 people. Or if he makes the decision that makes his credit worse, it only kills 1 person. Is he forced to kill the 5 people?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
He doesn't flip the switch on the trolley, and the 5 people die.
They are victim to the 850.
Wow. Okay.
Ryan,
Is that the top? 850?
I have no idea.
I think it.
Josh definitely doesn't know.
You go like, yeah, I'm a millennial with advanced degrees. Do you think I know good credits?
Yeah. It's my wife's taking care of the mortgage on this one, so I don't know.
Ryan, you have former mayor of Toronto.
I do. Rob Ford is
Smoke crack.
I've realized that I have a much easier time, like Ron Richards. If I come up with a name, then it's much easier for me to come up with the power to go with that name. So Rob Ford is the inductor.
Okay.
He can use magnetic fields to induce an electrical current in various objects, metallic objects.
How does that work practically?
You ever heard of an induction burner?
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
He basically can, like, if you have compatible pot or pan, you can just put it on his hand. He can heat that right up for you.
Interesting. So he just conducts heat through induction.
So he
No. He creates an electrical current, and the electrical current, because your cast iron pan is not a circuit. There's nowhere for the electricity to go to, so it gets released as heat.
So you're saying that his like superhero like anthem, the thing he yells out is "Put the kettle on," and he holds his hand out.
But I mean, theoretically, he could use it to like generate free electricity if he wanted, because if he just did that same power on a like a circuit, he could generate a current that would have
So
somewhere to
he's
go.
So he's a key charger as well.
Yeah, actually, if it's compatible devices, he's
Yeah.
the inductor. Any reason you would want to induce an electrical current, he's got you.
I mean, that's helpful in the apocalypse. See, that's the thing about your power versus mine. Mine's not helpful in the apocalypse, and yours very helpful.
Julie Petrarca.
Petrarca.
Julie has perfect dream recall and manipulation. What I mean is,
I know what you mean.
many of
Pretty
us
helps.
come out of dream state and vaguely remember what they dreamed about. She has perfect dream recall. Some people have that, but she has it perfectly. And by manipulation, I mean is she can re-enter a dream. So sometimes you're in a dream, you're really enjoying it, you wake up and you can't get back in it. It's gone. Well, she can go right back to whatever it was.
One time, I realized that I was in a dream, and someone else in the dream convinced me I wasn't, which is my own subconscious tricking me, and it pissed me off.
So I remember reading once a long time ago, and it's always stuck with me, is that like if you write down your dream the moment that you wake up and you get it down, then that's the only way that you'll remember it. I guess there are mutants. There's people who, but like you will always, it's like a rule. You will always sort of forget what that is.
You will remember it, and also you will bore your friends.
No, that is like you guys know, like I hate dream sequences, and then the most painful thing is listening to somebody tell me about their dream. It's the worst thing on earth. The only thing worse than that is the feeling of microfiber against my dry hands. That too. There's a lot of bad things. So listen, I'm not a big dreamer.
There's a lot of bad things. The end. See you next week.
I'm not a big dreamer. Josh has no dreams anymore.
No, wait. I don't. I'm not like, I don't have a thing for that. Like it doesn't happen. But since all this started, like it's just anxiety dream after anxiety dream that are perfectly and 100% you can exactly say what they mean.
It's a good thing Gal Gadot didn't call you to be a part of her Imagine.
I'm not the only one.
So, no, I agree with you. I'm having nothing but anxiety dreams. I'm having dreams of people being too close to me, get away from me. Like, we're not supposed to be doing this. Like, like we're not supposed to be this close. Like, get away. Mine
are all about not being able to take care of this, or all about not being able to take care of my family. Like, I'm late for everything. I can't, like, I had one where, like, I was trying to get to a thing to help everybody, and I couldn't get my clothes on. And I'd put, like, clothes on, and, like, these are the wrong pants, and I'd have to change them. And I couldn't find the things, and like, everybody needed me, and I couldn't make it because I couldn't figure out my outfit.
That's perfectly you.
Right, exactly. Like, they're so clearly obvious what it means.
Well, we're going to get into that more next week. But let's do one email. I thought since we were all on here and Ryan has his own podcast, this would be a good email to do. Kim S. from Denmark. One of the many, many things I admire about iFanboy is the audio quality. Hopefully it's... Everyone's on the internet right now, and so the audio quality of the last couple of shows has not been great because everyone's on the internet all the time now. So, sorry, Kim. So Kim says, I do a podcast here in Denmark, but we have a studio set up where we meet and talk in person. Lucky. And now, like you, we are confined to our homes, and we would like to keep on podcasting, but the sound quality we got from our first online session, not great. Can you help out with some general advice, software, hardware, editing tricks? I'm sure I'm not the only listener who shares the hobby, and you guys are the experts. Besides, I just love hearing you talk about things you know about and are passionate about. I've never even skipped an underwear commercial.
Oh, Kim, you're the best.
You're listening to our show. Ryan's on this show. He also has Science Sort Of. We all podcast remotely. Although, Ryan, you occasionally do in-person interviews, right?
Yep. I have basically two different setups, an in-person setup and a remote setup.
We used to do iFanboy kind of regularly in person back when all three of us, when Ron was the host, lived in New York. Well, Ron was in Connecticut. But...
For the most part, we have done this remotely, and it was always more awkward to be in person, which is not the way it normally works. But, like, for whatever reason, we got used to doing it this way.
I still vividly recall the first time we did it in person at Ron's parents' house in Long Island.
Yeah.
We shot an episode of the video show at their pool and then did the show in his old bedroom, and we could not look each other in the eye. It was too awkward.
And it was like, stop looking at me. Stop looking at me.
It was too awkward.
Yeah.
We've gotten better about that the more we've done it about the first time. Anyway, let's give him some trips and tips.
All right, so...
Tricks and tips.
We've talked about our setup, and we will do so in a second. But Ryan, what's the setup that you generally use for... just what are your two setups then?
My in-person field setup is I have a Zoom H4n field recorder and two Audio-Technica 2006 USB mics that are they're dual USB and XLR. So I use the XLR cables to plug them into the field recorder.
Which is also amp then.
Most of my friends who work in radio, I actually have a fair number of friends who work in radio, and I do things a little bit differently from them just because I'm self-taught. They don't like a two mic setup even in person. They prefer a one mic setup.
Oh, no. No.
and go back and forth between.
No.
I know. I agree with you. I think it makes way more sense to use.
If it has two fields, it's okay. If you have to actually
maybe.
move a mic back and forth, but there's some, like the Yeti, I think, has a thing where you can put one behind it and one in front.
Yeah, that's true. If you're interviewing someone, that's one thing, but if you're having a conversation, that seems like
yeah, that's a good point. I think most of these radio people, they are doing more traditional interviews because they're not used to being as big a part of the story, and a lot of them will use shotgun mics, so they're like pointing it right at the person's mouth, which is interesting.
Well, that's the thing that happens in like electronic news gathering. There'll just be one mic, and the sound guy would like point it at whoever's going.
That's my field setup. It's pretty basic. I still just record everything to a little SD card and then put it on my computer for editing. My at-home setup is I have a boom arm. It's a Rode one that connects to my desk. I originally got it because I thought I would be able to connect it to the shelf above my desk, so it would be completely disconnected from the desk itself, because that's better, but you can't install it in a way that it would be able to reach my mouth. So unfortunately I had to install it on my desk, and it's the same mic I use out in the field, but it's a dual XLR USB mic, so it's instead just on USB mode right now. And in terms of getting good quality, like I'm in a little nook in my bedroom, I'm facing a wall, it's got a lot of stuff on it, so it's not echoey,
right?
And I keep my mouth really close to the mic. Eat the mic.
It depends on the mic.
It really depends on the mic. Yeah. I have to be a good 6 inches away from the mic.
I mean, I have a Yeti, so I'm very familiar with that as well, and I am further away from my Yeti. I have a pop filter. I don't use it very often.
Literally popped when you said pop filter.
That's why you need it. Maybe I should pull it back out.
I got rid of the pop filter. It was annoying me, so I changed to the covered windscreen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that works much better. Because the pop screen, it was always falling off. The Yeti mics are great, but the pop screen wasn't part of the mic, so it was always falling off, and it was just not good. So I'm much happier this way.
I just have a foam cover on it.
That's what I mean.
I should probably just use a foam cover. And then I have a nice pair of Sony, standard Sony studio headphones that every audio person I know has. So
yeah, I have the Shure SH44, I think, which is, again, it's like the $100 standard. I've had them for years and years and years and years. Okay, it's really easy to get into the weeds on the specifics of audio recording and mics and preamps and all that stuff, and I don't think that's necessarily what you need because you're talking about remote stuff.
Right.
It's important to note we have pretty much been doing our show.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Before you get into it, Ryan,
Yes.
how are you recording it and connecting on?
Good question.
Virtually.
So yeah, the mic is just a USB microphone. So
No. What software are you using to record the conversation? Or
when we do Science Sortive, I use Audio Hijack, which is a Mac program. Same one you guys. Ron taught me how to use it. So for a while, we were using a website called Zencastr, which was a website that I thought had a really great product in beta. And unfortunately, when it came out of beta, I thought it wasn't quite as good. But it works by letting everyone record their own track on their own computer, and then syncs them all up and then sends them to the Dropbox of the person who has the account. So that's one way you can improve quality if you don't want to record, what's coming through the other person's internet, and try to get a local recording. So those are the two things we use software-wise to actually get the recording, and then I edit using Adobe Audition.
Wasn't the problem with Zencastr that the timing was off?
Yeah, it relies on the computer's internal clock to sync the tracks. And so if for whatever reason, like one of our regular co-hosts, for whatever reason, his computer clock was never right. And so his track was always drifting in and out of sync with everybody else's, and it made it a nightmare to edit.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily like that, because I think you told me that, and I haven't gone anywhere near it. Because
one time it happened when Ryan and I recorded and my recording got lost. I had to use his backup, which was Zencastr, and I nearly quit the show trying to edit that because it was not in sync, and I had to constantly cut it and resync it.
Yeah. And that never happened when it was in beta, which was really interesting. And then Audition, I started using Audition instead of Audacity because I have to pay for the Adobe suite for work anyways, because I need Illustrator for making scientific figures and stuff. So I was like, well, I have the software that is theoretically better than Audacity. Why am I not using it? And I used a website called lynda.com, which is a LinkedIn company, which I'm able to get free access to through both my university and just my public library. And they have, tech training tutorials that I actually find work for me better than just like hunting around on YouTube or forums. And so it took me, about 8 hours of solid work to learn how to use Audition, but now I use it and I think it's really powerful and it's really good.
Okay. We have almost pretty much exactly been doing the same thing that we've been doing since we started.
The iFanboy story.
Our technical methods actually go way back. However, so we call each other over Skype. We each have pretty good mics one way or another.
In terms of Skype, you are dependent on the quality of the internet.
Yeah.
In the early days, it was a big problem. In the early days, we used to lose connection a lot. We used to fuzz out a lot. We used to do what we call roboting, where you get garbled noise. But it hadn't been so bad the last couple of years. It's been pretty good. And by couple, I probably mean 10.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But right now, as everyone being home on their home connections as opposed to dedicated work lines, I have noticed in the last 2 weeks, I've recorded like 4 shows. We did the animation show and we did Josh and I's Booksplode, that the quality is not as good as it was when everybody wasn't at home using their home lines. So that's just something you have no control over, the quality of your internet connection in that situation.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. That's interesting because it depends on a couple of things. It depends on how you record Skype and how that app does it. With ours, we use Audio Hijack too. It records, I believe it records the thing I'm saying to you right now on my computer is being recorded as a straight signal, and the thing that they are being, the things that they are saying to me is on another track. Basically, it's stereo, and then we change that to mono later so that you're not on the left and right. And I put out a show one time where I forgot to do that, and people were like, "What the hell is this?" And I was like, "I know, I'm sorry."
You do have to set it up to record that way. It won't do that default, so you have to make sure you do the settings correctly.
Audio Hijack used to be much less robust in terms of how you could configure it, and now you can really futz with it. So we have it set up specifically to split the track, because otherwise we're all on one track and it can be a mess to edit. So it's at least at this point, like when I'm going to edit this show, I'm going to be on one track and Josh and Ryan are going to be on a separate track from themselves. And it's easier to cut out crosstalk or garbled stuff when it's split like that.
Right. And I think like one of the things is that I think we do a lot more editing than we used to.
Yeah,
I certainly do. And I've learned a lot of techniques within. We bring that into Audacity. This is another step, is that we levelate it. And levelate.
Oh, you guys are still using Levelator?
Well, there's a thing. Levelate is this wonderful freeware program that was developed a long time ago where you put your audio track in, or your audio file in it, and it normalizes the volume, meaning that the parts that are quiet get brought up. The parts, the 2 tracks are on the same level so that my voice sounds at the same level as Connor's voice.
And yeah, because that's a quirk with, I guess, Audacity, where the home track is lower than the guest track. So a levelator brings everyone to the same, so as much as you can to the same level.
Yeah, and it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Now, when they updated all of the Macs to 64-bit, I lost it too. So I've been trying a couple of different things. The best I've found right now is a website called Auphonic. They give you 2 hours free a month, and you got to pay more to get more than that. I pay $11 a month for 9 hours. There's a normalization thing on there, and then there's a couple of other effects you can put on it.
I just never updated my Mac.
Yeah, no.
For this specific reason, so I wouldn't lose Levelator.
There's a plugin you can get for Audacity, Josh, that might be able to do a lot of that for you.
Yes, and
Chris's dynamic compressor.
I looked into it. I couldn't figure out how to make it work. And so this brings me to my next point. So that's pretty much all of the sound processing that we ever do. And that's really key, because I think that being consistent is really important. And I could probably go in and I could add compression and I could add, all of this different stuff that would improve it. But after everything gets compressed down, like the file size and everything, a lot of that stuff gets lost, and it doesn't really need to sound perfect. It just needs to sound good, and it needs to sound consistent. And that really is the main thing when what you're talking about is making sure that, you have a sound that is high enough quality. There's not a bunch of shit going on in the background. Yes, I recognize the irony of that statement. Recognize you're not in a room that has bouncy echo on one side, and there's lots of ways to deal with that. Recording in your car is like the best portable studio you could ever.
It's surprisingly good, yeah.
Or a closet.
Yep.
Like with a lot of voiceover people who work from home, like our buddy Mike Romo records in the closet because you've got all the clothing. It's almost being in a sound booth. You're in a small space that's covered by fabric with clothing and stuff. So
because my show oftentimes has guests on it who are not used to recording, we actually wrote up a little 1-page guide that we send out to them that has a lot of basic tips and tricks, because so much of getting good tape is discipline, is just being a disciplined recorder, of using good technique. You can get a pretty good recording on pretty crummy equipment. And you can get a terrible recording on great equipment. Yeah, so big part of it is learning the tools that you have and using them properly, finding a quiet room. We've had guests give great interviews just using the lapel mic on their iPhone headphones.
Yep.
But you have to be smart about it. If you have long hair, put it in a ponytail. Don't have it rubbing up against the mic. Don't wear a scarf. Don't have dangly earrings. Things like that goes such a long way towards making it so you don't have to clean up a bunch of crappy audio on the other side. And I often tell people, I've actually done a number of podcast workshops for scientists and science writers. And one thing I tell them is, you're going to spend time and effort either getting a good recording or fixing it in the edit. And I don't think there's any way to shortcut either one of those. You just have to decide where do I want to spend most of my time? Do I want to spend my time and effort getting a good recording in the first place? Or am I willing to spend a lot of time in Audacity or Audition or Reaper or Hindenburg cleaning it up and fixing it?
This is a super basic tip, but I don't know that everybody understands it, especially with this applies to everybody working remotely and in teleconferencing or whatever it is they call it now. People on both sides need to have headphones.
Yeah.
The sound that they are hearing cannot be the sound that is going back into the mic that they are recording with. Apple compensates for that most of the time.
So does Zoom.
Yeah. However, don't
risk it.
Especially if you're, I mean, like, it's one thing to say you're having a meeting or whatever, like that kind of, you hit that echo in the beginning of it and then it usually clears up. Don't do that on a recording. If you were recording somebody and doing an interview, that other person needs to have headphones on. Their mic cannot pick up what you are hearing, period. That's
and if you do have to use the mic that's internal to your MacBook or your computer or whatever, think about when you type. Think about when you click your mouse.
You
think
listening, Ron? You listening?
The Ron Richards Memorial
Mouse Click Award. I would love to have a studio to walk into that's set up. That was always the dream for us, was we all lived together, was there was a studio somewhere we could just go and record a show. That would have been great. But, you know, I've recorded all over the place in all kinds of rooms, all different, in my office at work, at home, in my bedroom, on the living room, everywhere. And it's because our setup is relatively simple and we replicate it every week. And I've used headphone mics on the road. I've used the iPad when my headphone mic got busted when I was home for Christmas. We've kind of jury-rigged it all the ways you can jury-rig it over the course of these 15 years. But we have a pretty simple setup that works for us.
And it might take you a little while to get it.
And this setup may not work for you also.
Yeah. There are parts of this that we have had to back up and record again because it roboted out, and you're not going to hear it.
Yeah.
It has happened recently. So just be aware of that stuff.
Don't.
I'm
sorry, I'm just remembering the time that we did 3 full shows in one night. Do you remember that time?
Of course I remember that time.
Early in the run where... What program kept crashing? Was it Audacity?
I don't remember. Skype was very problematic back then.
We quite literally did 3 full Pick of the Week podcasts, the same show 3 times because it crashed at the very end each time and we lost the recording. Each one of us.
Oh, here's the thing. We always backup record. Everyone you're hearing right now is recording, so there should be 3 copies of this at the end.
Yeah. That way, if something goes wrong or someone's recording is garbled or if some weird thing happened, there's a backup.
And the thing about Audio Hijack is if you don't like Skype, Audio Hijack, the whole idea of the program is it can take the recording of any computer program that you're running. So if you want to do Google Hangouts, it can record that. If you want to do a Zoom, it can record that. So you should be able to set it up to record whatever software you want to use as your VoIP. It can record that.
Finally, we just told you all of this stuff and all these details, which, by the way, nothing to do with comics. Sorry, everyone. Don't make the perfect the enemy of good.
Yeah.
Don't worry that it's pristine so much. Make sure that it's pretty good. Have fun. Don't drive yourself crazy. Somebody out there is going to tell you, if enough people are listening, somebody out there is going to tell you that your audio is great. And at the same time, somebody's going to tell you that sounds terrible because you can't control how it comes out on the other side either. And that's the thing we learned early on. Somebody be like, that sounds awful. And and we're like, we listen to it. It sounds fine. So. Yeah.
And also, I think everyone understands right now that maybe your show doesn't sound like it used to. For very logical and important reasons. So it's fine. Don't worry too much about it. But you should be able to record at home now with many of these ideas. Thanks for writing in, Kim from Denmark. Contact at iFanboy.com. Many of you wrote in about the events of the last week in terms of how it deals with comics. And I think we're going to deal with all that next week on the show. So stay tuned. We wanted to do a regular show this week as we still had comics to talk about, which leads us into our very brief, so we have the COVID-19 virus going around the world. We have life in lockdown. And it was announced this week that Diamond was no longer shipping, which was sort of irrelevant to most people because a lot of people, especially in the United States, their stores were closed anyway because they're non-essential businesses. So they couldn't even get the comics. Some stores were doing curbside pickup until that was shut down too. So Diamond is shut down for the foreseeable future. As we record this, we haven't heard from the big companies. Only Dark Horse has said they are not going to release comics digitally during this. Archie said they're going to do it for 1 week, and that's it. We haven't heard from Marvel or DC. We haven't heard from Image. So we don't know what the show is going to be or the comic industry is going to be. Hopefully we'll know a little bit more by next week, and we'll be able to talk about it on the show as we dedicate next week to whatever comics come out and or what has happened in the industry since then. So that's where we're going to do all that discussion. But I think that covers sort of the situation, right? Am I missing anything?
No, I think that's it. It's fluid, but also stay away from fluids.
A lot of people have asked us, what are you guys going to do? We're going to do a show because it's fun for us And it's sort
hopefully
of
for you.
therapeutic for us and you as well. So no matter what happens, we're going to do a show. It might get weird.
It might take a little while to find its feet, but I guarantee the sillier it gets, the more fun we're going to have. And usually that translates.
I'm a paleontologist. I've literally found feet before.
So
I got this.
we'll do something, and it'll be comics related. We'll either discuss things. We'll go look at old stuff. We got tons of emails we don't get to. Maybe we'll do a lot of emails. We'll do as much as we can. There will be a show. Whether or not it'll be about comics, whether or not there'll be a pick of the week, it's really going to depend on what happens the next week in terms of what comes out.
We can all watch Birds of Prey from the comfort of our own home.
So there'll be an iFanboy podcast. What it'll be about, we don't know. We'll see. It'll be fun to sort of figure it out. But we'll be back next week. And again, if you're one of the people that emailed us this week about the changes, asking about the show, asking about digital comics, asking about the future of the industry, we're going to deal with all of that next week. So stay tuned. Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts indeed. Half-lit cigarette bouncing around in your lips.
Forgot the
Anyway.
word.
The last Talksplode that we recorded, not the last one, just the most recent, was with my pal Aubrey Sitterson. We talked about his remaking of a comics career and the bold way forward. I always love talking to Aubrey. He's the platonic opposite of me in his attitude, but he's a great dude. And then also we just did a Booksplode about Robin Year One from Chuck Dixon and Javier. Help me.
Javier Pulido.
I was like, it's not Pena.
Scott Beatty, we keep forgetting he was the co-writer.
That's true. I apologize about that.
And that came out right behind this show. It came out this week. So if you haven't heard that yet.
And that was a really great book, and we like talking about it. It is The Joy of Dick.
So Ryan and I and Paul Montgomery recorded a Superman Red Sun review, the Animation Brain Trust, which will be coming out this coming week. So you'll get that coming at you. And then, as we said earlier, I'm pretty sure we're going to do another media splode just because, even though we know that the stretch goal is going to come back down below the limit, we're going to probably do another one just because people need shows. We need to talk to each other. It's a good melding of the two. So you'll probably look forward to at least one more in April. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
I do a podcast called Science Sort of. We talk about science. We are recorded far enough ahead that there's not a lot of COVID talk. The most recent episode, actually, we had a buddy of mine who's a science writer, but he's also a big comic book guy. And so we ended up talking for a while, and I split it into 2 episodes. And the second episode is literally us talking about the X-Men and Star Wars. So
that's fun.
If you're interested in some of the sort of content you're used to hearing from me from here, but maybe infused with a little bit more of a scientific perspective, go check that out. We got some good shows coming up. Speaking of getting our footing, Josh, our next episode that I'm editing right now is about the evolution of the human foot.
Huh.
Are you going to have time to podcast while you're working on the cure for the virus?
Fortunately, that is not my department. My department is literally watching Congress dither about whether or not we're going to pay for a cure for the virus. So that's my role in the system right now.
That's going to make a man drink.
And how?
So head over to ifanboy.com to find all of these shows except for Science Sort of. That's at sciencesortof.com. All of our old podcasts are there. Ryan's old articles are there. There's tons of content. If you're looking for something to fill the hours and kill the time, there's a lot of old content over at ifanboy.com. Read about what we thought about things in 2010. Pretend like you're back there when things were nicer. Find out what the pick of the week is before the show comes out by liking facebook.com/ifanboy, following at ifanboy on Twitter, and you can follow at ifanboy comics on Instagram for all of that, plus the Best of the Week in Panels feature. And individually, we are CS Kilpatrick on Instagram, J. Flanagan on Twitter and Instagram, and I did this from memory, Ryan. Was that correct? Haupt on Twitter and Ryan Haupt on Instagram?
Nailed it.
All right.
I will continue to get that wrong every time.
Is your water hard again?
Soften that water.
I'm in the basement. No, I believe someone's just running water. So that's a thing. So that's not an ideal studio either.
That's nothing for Kim. Don't set up next to the pipes.
Well, I mean, that was the choice between this and, frankly, quite whiny children. And then like, it would be untoward to hear my wife get frustrated with them in the background. You know,
Connor, I'm taking over the script. If you dig the show, write us a review or leave a star rating on iTunes. Or better yet, tell your friends about us. Help spread iFanboy love. Don't spread anything else.
That's all we want you to spread.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you have a gigantic stock of peanut butter at home.
Wash your hands. 20 seconds.
And also, stay the fucking doors. Don't go see your friends. Don't let anyone come over.
Yeah.
Knock it off.
Don't go to the beach. Don't go hiking.
We know you got comics you haven't read. Read them.
You can go hiking where I live. There ain't nobody around.
Thank you, Ryan, for being on the show, as always. And we'll probably have you back
whenever possible,
however long this weird thing lasts. But thanks for coming on. We know you're busy saving the world.
Be home.
Or at least watching Congress not save the world. In the meantime, until next week, I'm Connor.
I'm Josh. Ryan, you go last.
That's not how it's done. I'm Ryan.
Yeah, I
I don't
know.
want to be last.
Okay, I'm still Josh.
There we go.
Wash your hands.